Diary, hello. This is my Wednesday report, which is our first full day at Club La Santa in Lanzarote. As I hope you all know, we regard Club La Santa as one of the premier dedicated exercise facilities in the world. For a one-off price, you pay to be here in an apartment with various different levels of luxury, and then you can partake in all the exercise and classes that are available. So at the end of today, Wednesday, we've had our first full day here, and the the idea is don't injure yourself and don't fall ill. It's a very low bar to set, and I'm glad to say that at the end of the first day we have met that requirement. And so we started off with the morning 8 o'clock sort of communal stretching class, which is done by the pool. So you may know, if you've been to Club La Santa, that there's a 15-minute stretching class, which is also available as a YouTube video. And we did that with hundreds of other people, all following along the instructor that stands in the middle of the sort of the pool area and takes that class. Done to music. After that, we had booked a leisurely 40k cycle. Now, Lanzarote is quite a windy island, and yesterday on Wednesday it was not that windy, which is great. The only thing was that it's a structured class with about 20 people in it, and the instructors were very clear, to be fair, to ask us to cycle 2x2 and, in a long line, one behind each other. And that's something I absolutely hate, because if you've ever ridden in a group, if you're doing any kind of speed, especially if you're doing a downhill, uppers are not too bad because everyone, of course, slows down. But certainly if you're going downhill, then going at speed just a few sort of tens of centimetres behind the person in front's back wheel, I find tremendously nerve-wracking. So I enjoyed the cycle, but I definitely did not enjoy group riding. And I've asked my partner, I said, well, if we do another cycle, could you just make a course? Because she's an expert at that sort of thing. So we're thinking about doing it that way. But we had a nice 40k cycle, a couple of stops, and no one got injured, and we had some nice hilly climbs. And Wednesday was not a windy day, so that's great. We have hired a car, and we have been here before, so we know that there's a local shop just down the road, and we went to that local shop after our bike ride in the car to get some provisions, and we got some wine and some lentils and some other healthy foods, wine being one of them, obviously. And so we managed to fit the shop in, and then after the shop we fitted in a swim. So you can book. I think there are 3 pools here. They're Olympic sized, and the main one is heated. The more modern one is heated. So I booked the heated pool, obviously. Our companion Sue, I think she didn't know that the North Pool wasn't heated. I think she went for a swim in the North Pool. Anyway, I went for a swim, did about just over 1k in a decent time, and it was just nice just to relax, really. So that was the swim, and then after that I fitted in the absolute abs class. Now on our last stay here, there was a very nice instructor called David who was very gung-ho, and he did the absolute abs class with kind of full vigour. This was a much more subtle absolute abs class, in that they did exercises which, on the face of it, you wouldn't think would be working your abs, but they did actually work your abs. So that was quite a nice absolute abs class. And when that finished, that was a half an hour class. I, and like everyone else we were with, decided I had already booked a yoga class, but I didn't know where it was. I had to go via reception, and they told me where the five-a-side soccer pitch is, because that's where the yoga class is. There were so many people wanting to do the class that it was on the five-a-side football field. So in our group of 3 in this luxury apartment, I was the only one going. So I went there, and it was a lot of going from a crouching position to on toes position. So it was using your sort of your upper legs. So I'm quite strong-legged, so I found that was quite easy. There was one, I was right at the back of the class. When I got there, everyone had started because it was such a long way away. And I crept into the back, and there was a woman, it was mostly women in the class, not exclusively, but there was a woman that was like a giant, and she was about 3 times the size of her. Literally, I kept moving round and round and round to try and get her out of view, because she was kind of blocking the instructor, who was, you know, where the goalie would be in a football field. So there was at least 30 people there, at least, could be more. It was very difficult to see what to do, but that was a whole hour of yoga. So after that, I was feeling pretty knackered, but we then had the stretch and relax class, and that is what it sounded like: stretching, and at the end, relaxing. The thing about the stretch and relax class is that the lady was doing it was a very nice lady, but she did poses which you just have to hold. So, you know, if you're sitting on your bottom and you're stretching to meet your stretching forward to meet the outstretched leg, she just hold that pose for ages. So on poses where I think it's easy for you to keep the pose, I found that no problem. But for poses that where I was in great tension, like stretching to meet my leg, that was quite difficult to keep the pose. So that was basically it for the day in terms of exercise. We then went into washing mode. Since all of this activity generates a huge amount of washing, we found the coin-operated washing machines, and whilst they only took half an hour, they seemed to be very much in demand, because all the washing machines bar one was broken. So we had to sort of wait around for that washing machine to become available. So finally, after that, we thought we'd come back to the apartment to relax, and we came back to apartment, and would you believe it, ants had invaded our apartment. So tiny little ants, really small ants, were kind of making a home on our kitchen worktop and on our kitchen floor. So Club Santa's got various levels of apartments, and we've always bought what we call they had old apartments which were very, very functional, very, very bare, and then they refurbished most of them and called them the refurbished apartments. And quite separate to that, they had a set of new luxury apartments that they'd built. And we're here with our friend Sue, my partner here and I are here with our friend Sue, and we decided for the first time ever that we'd booked the luxury apartment. So I really was not expecting Little Ants to be in our luxury apartment, but they are. So last night we had to call facilities, and we said, oh, we've got lots of ants in our apartment. Could someone come and help us remove them? And it turns out that in the olden days, they would give us the ant spray. So we went down to reception to get more details. And the lady said that in the olden days, they would give you the ants killing spray. But once they did that, and somebody with an allergy had a reaction, and ever since then, they've not been able to give anyone the ant spray. They've got to come and do it themselves, you know, for reasons of liability. So, so we had to wait for housekeeping to arrive with some ant spray, and they sprayed it around. The ants went off for about an hour or two, and then before we went to bed, the ants were back. So, that needs some extra sorting out on Thursday. So, what can I say? We've had a wonderful first day. We are not injured. We've had a wonderful time, wonderful things to eat. Sun's been shining. There's been no rain, hardly any wind, which is unusual for Lanzarote. It's like a perfect first full day. Thanks for watching, Diary.